Hi and welcome to this tutorial. Um, First I would like to talk about this additional window that I have open here. This window is only here for you to understand what keyboard keys I press. So for example, if I press space, that will display space. If I press T, escape. If I do a left click, it says mouse left, mouse right, middle mouse. So you can always refer to this window to see what keys I have pressed. What we have are the two EPS files. What I'm going to do is go to File, Open, and then I'm going to find the two EPS files that I have. I'm just going to start with one of them for now. I'm going to open this. When you open up these files, they are already active in Illustrator, and we can go and edit them. But before we start editing them, there are a few tools that I want to talk about so that we can understand the concept of Illustrator better. So when we come to editing these, we can have a better understanding of how this works. I'm going to hold space and use the left mouse click in order to move my screen around. We have two arrows here. We have the black arrow, we have the white arrow. The black arrow will select objects as a whole. The white arrow will affect parts of the objects, such as, and specifically, especially the anchor points. If I was to go and create a rectangle, the black arrow will move the entire rectangle as a whole, as an entire object. However, the white arrow will only affect specific areas, for example the anchor points. So I could move the anchor points around in order to create what I want to create. I want to zoom into this area. I could either hold Alt and scroll in and out, or I could hold Control and press the plus sign and the minus sign on my keyboard. So I'm going to go here. Anchor points can be in two different formats. One is this, which is the cornered version, which is that one, and the other version is a smooth Bezier anchor point, which will make this smooth. And we have the anchor points that we can play with. Now of course we don't really need to create much designs when we already have our own designs imported, but in case if we said, for example, there is this additional point here that I don't like and I want to get rid of it, how do I do that? We could go and edit that. I'll explain that in a bit as well. Now the second important aspects of Illustrator, which becomes very important when we want to export and import files into AutoCAD, is that most objects, unless if they're a single line, they have two colors. They have a fill color, which becomes the color that you see. So if I was to double click here and choose red and press OK, that turns red. And we also have the stroke color. Right now my stroke here, and as you can see here, they have a red dashed line on them. That means that there are no strokes. So if I was to click on this and say, let's give me a black stroke, what I will end up with is the stroke that we have on the border of our design. We can change the size of the stroke by going through the options that we have, or we could manually enter a number. So I could just say 12.5 for example, and it'll give me that stroke. But for this case, we're just gonna, right now I'm gonna stick to 1 point. Now of course this is the color of the stroke. Now when we want to take this into AutoCAD, the color is pretty much irrelevant. But as you can see, if I was to select that object and choose green, that will also turn green. So now by this idea, what we want to do is we want to go work on this object over here. I'm going to delete that and I'm going to put this over here. What we did in order to bring this object into Illustrator, we went to File, and we said Open. And as we can see, we have all these anchor points that we could play with. So I could go and grab one of these anchor points and just move it around. But if I already had a a Illustrator file open, and I had some design here, and I wanted to bring one of those EPS files here as well, I would have to go to File and not Open, because if I click on Open, it opens on a new tab separately. I need to go to Place and then find my design. If I bring this design in right now, it told me that it's already somewhere else and it has changes and it's unsaved. If I want to bring it in, I said yes. If I bring the design in, I did that using the Place tool. If I bring that with Place, you can see that we do not have the blue anchor points as to how we have here. In here we can go and edit those, but in this case we can't do that unless if I click Edit Original, and then that should put that on a new file for me. But because I already had it open, it brought me back to my file. So if I was to close everything, just to demonstrate what I mean, if I go to File, New, so I already have a new file. I'm going to go to File and Place, and I'm going to place that design here. If I go and click on Edit Original so that I can have access to the anchor points to edit this, it will create a second tab with the original design that I could go and edit. But here I can't do that. But in order to avoid this confusion and these complications, the most straightforward answer is to just go to File, and instead of using the Place command, just open the EPS file. Actually, open the wrong one. Now that we have this open, we can edit this. If we only want the outline and we do not want to have the fill inside, we can select all of these and say we want it to have a black stroke. It kind of looks like it has made our design thicker and they're going through each other. That's fine, we can fix that. So now we have a stroke on all of them. So I'm going to select, click and drag to select all, or I could press Ctrl A on my keyboard to select everything. Make sure the stroke is set to black. The fill, we don't want white, because white, it's still a color. There's still color inside it. It's just not green, it's not red, it's just white, but there's still color in there. We want to make sure that we click on none, so there's no color in there at all. Now in this case, if I was to zoom in, you can see that the lines are too thick and they don't look as good as we want them to look like. So I'm going to go and give this the minimum value that we have in this case is a 0.25. And I want to put that design in here. With designs such as these circles, when they're not overlapping any other object, we don't really have much problem. But with designs here, where we have these overlapping lines, if we want to get rid of the overlapping lines and we only end up with the outside design, then what we need to do is we need to select everything. So again, either Control A or just with the black arrow, make a selection on the whole thing, so we select all the objects. Now we want to bring our transform menu. So we go to Window, and we go to, sorry, not Transform, Pathfinder. I'm going to go to Pathfinder, and I want to zoom into this area so you can see what happens as soon as I click Unite. The first icon here says Unite. When I click on Unite, all the intersecting paths, lines disappear, and we're only left with a very nice and clean surface to follow. Of course, there might be some leftovers, such as this case here, that we may want to get rid of. In order to do that, you can select the white arrow. If you were to select that extra anchor point and press delete, it will create a gap between your lines. So you do not want to delete the line. What you want to do is remove the line. You want to get the pen tool, but click and hold on the pen tool icon in order to expand the menu. Then go to the delete anchor point tool, which has a minus sign next to it. And if you bring your mouse and hover over that extra anchor point and you see the minus icon on the next to the pen, if you click on that, we get rid of that anchor point, and now this is a continuous line. But as you can see, it's still not very smooth. It's not straight. It's it has this very strange look to it. Now at this stage, there are two different methods that we can try. We can either try to remove both of those anchor points, or one. Let's see what happens. Okay, that kind of changed the path there. I could also try to remove the other one. That's behaving a little bit better. The other thing I could do is I could get the white arrow tool, select each of them, and set it to corner. I want to select that, set it to corner. And so let's see what's going on here. Set it to corner. Let's see what's going on here. Okay, I think what's going on here is that those points, they have the Bezier handlebar. So what I really need to do, I mean, it's very tiny to see here. I'll actually show you what the problem is, or what's causing the problem. If we have a line, let me just do that on this side so you can see it better. If we had a line like this with Bezier handles, we could move these Bezier handles around in order to affect that shape, and this is the type of effect we're having there. The only difference is the two anchor points are very, very close to each other. Now in order to get rid of an anchor point, we can just not get rid of the anchor point, get rid of the handlebars. We can just select this spherical handlebar and drag that bar onto the anchor point itself, and we'll get this white arrow icon. And now we've gotten rid of that, so I could bring that here and get rid of that. So that's what we're trying to do. So just to repeat again, we're trying to get this spherical handlebar and bring it onto the anchor point. Now of course, the difference on our model here is that those handlebars are extremely tiny and small because they're really zoomed in, so you have to be careful. You're gonna make sure you click the handle and just put it on the required anchor, and now we get that smooth effect. You just have to go around and check these. If, for example, you're happy with a design like this that you have, then you just leave it as it is. But if you're not happy and you would want that to just curve into one anchor point rather than having this two edges, you can go get the minus delete anchor point tool and just get rid of one of them or the other to see whichever you want to play around with them. So you can edit the anchor points like that. Make sure you get rid of anything unnecessary. So for example, this area here, I'm not sure what that is. I'm gonna delete that, but I just made a mistake. The mistake was I selected with the black arrow tool, which not only selects that, but it selects the whole thing. So when I press delete, I'm not only deleting that, I'm deleting the entire design. So make sure that you select that with the white arrow tool, so you only select the extra section rather than the whole thing, and press delete. I think there's still no, it's okay. And you just need to go through all the design, make sure everything looks the way you want it to look like. And there isn't really a specific rule of thumb for that. It's just the designer's preferences. Now for example here, do I want this edge sticking out or not? If I do, I'll leave it as is, but if I don't, I could go and get rid of one of these lines. Now once you're happy with the outline that you have and the overall shape of your design, go ahead and save this, so in case if things go wrong, you can always come back to this. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to go to File, Save As, and I'm going to call this test_01. You can name it anything you want. .ai. I want to save that, so in case if anything goes wrong, you can always come back to this and try to fix my mistakes. Now what I want to do is I want to take this into AutoCAD. What I have here is AutoCAD mechanical, but this process applies to all the AutoCAD products. I'm going to go to File, and I'm going to go to Export, because we don't want to save it and take the .ai, the Adobe Illustrator file into AutoCAD. We want to take the format that AutoCAD likes, and that's the DWG format. So in the same file, I'm going to call this test_01 DWG, or you could name it anything else. Just when you're naming it, make sure you name it or delete the name behind the .dwg. I'm going to leave as is. When you click Save, you don't really need to change any settings. Just make sure that in the Options tab, your setting is set to maximum editability. Press OK. Now in AutoCAD, I'm going to go to Open, and it's going to look for it. So I'm going to go to Desktop, and I'm going to get my test_01 .dwg file. I'm going to open that, and it tells me if I want to open, I'm going to say Continue, and now we have our file inside AutoCAD. We see this dotted line here. If we wanted to change anything in AutoCAD, we could simply double click on that and say OK. And now if I was to select these sections, as you can see, they are all just like any other AutoCAD file that you could possibly have. So if I was to create a line in AutoCAD like this, I could simply select it and change how this line looks like. I can edit it, and this is a generic and native AutoCAD line. Once we import everything from Illustrator into AutoCAD, AutoCAD would automatically convert everything into generic and native AutoCAD drawings. So for example, I could zoom into here, and if I didn't like how this line looks, I could select it, and I could get one of the points and and change its position to somewhere else and make any different and any changes that I want. Now if we wanted to only bring a section of our design into AutoCAD, so let's say for example I didn't want to take the entire design, I only like this one shape here that I want to take into AutoCAD, just this design here. Right now when I get the black arrow tool and I click here, everything is attached to each other. They're sort of grouped, if you like. I'm going to go to Object and Ungroup, and I'm going to do this. You might have to do this multiple times. I only had to do it once, but in different cases you might have to do it multiple times. Now if I deselect everything and I go back to it, they have all turned into separate elements. So I could just select this one element that I like, put that to the side, select everything else, and delete it. Make sure you do not save this, because you will, or if you do save it, you might by mistake overwrite the existing Illustrator file that you have. So this one that I have, just this section, I could go to File, and I could go again to Export, and I could call this Test Part 1 or 01. Press Save, again making sure that maximum editability is checked on. Back to AutoCAD. What I'm going to do is I'm going to again go to Open, bring my file in, and now I only have that section. And if I did want to take this into the other file, let's say this is my main file, this is where everything is happening, this is where all of my designs are, and I need this additional design to go in there as well. So what I could do, either press Ctrl A to just make a selection, Ctrl A, Ctrl C to copy, go to the other file and just do Ctrl V, and that will paste that design in here, and you could put it anywhere that you like. And this just becomes like any other AutoCAD drawing. You can rotate it, you can move it, you can change how it looks. And again, I can't really say how we need to change this because it's up to the designer to go and make any changes if they want to. Hopefully you won't really need to make any changes in AutoCAD because you will make all the required changes in Illustrator and then take it into AutoCAD and everything should be ready. So I'm going to repeat everything that we've done again. I'm going to go to File and Open. This time I'm going to open up the other design, this design, and I want to take it as a whole. So I'm going to select that everything, making sure I have everything selected. I do not want a fill, I just want a stroke. I want to put a stroke in first, and I want to say stroke black, and fill set to none. This icon is the none icon. So what I have now is just a very straightforward tiny drawing. Now of course, if you don't need all these, if you just want the silhouette of this drawing, and you don't want all these small lines that go in between, then feel free, as I said, go to Object, ungroup it so they all become separate elements. Okay, and go to each element that you think you don't need and simply delete them. But if you think you need them, you can keep them. And if you think you need to, if you think you have overlapping edges that they shouldn't be overlapping, feel free to select everything and then go to Window, Pathfinder, Unite, and that will give you that silhouette that you need. However, if you only want, let's say, if your problem is only here and only between these two lines, you don't want the intersection to be, then you could just, you know, unite that and create that additional silhouette that you want. But if you only want to cut this, so let's say this shape is going into this design here, but you don't want that, you just want it to end at this line, then what you would have to do, this shape that we have, we need to create anchor points on it in order to connect them, so to speak. So what I want to do, I want to go in here and get the plus sign, and I want to, on the line of this drawing, I want to put an anchor point there, and I already have an anchor point. Actually, I think I already have enough anchor points here. I have one anchor point here and I have one anchor point there. If I didn't have anchor points where I wanted them, I could just create anchor points, but in this case I have anchor points. So let's say I want to connect this anchor point to this anchor point. I could delete all the additional anchor points that I don't need, and actually in this specific design we also have this the line continues, so you need to understand how the lines move. So I'm going to select that, and if I wanted the anchor points to go together, if I wanted them to join together, what I could do is just select that area where the two anchor points are on top of each other and then go to Object, Path, Join. They will become one line. So the same thing here. If you look closely, they're actually two overlapping lines, so they're not really connected to each other. So what I would want to do is select them both and say Object, Path, Join, and that will make them into one. And of course, if I don't like the design of that, I could always go and try to change it as well. But what you need to have in mind is that, as far as I know, the cutter will ignore the thickness and the shape of your strokes. What really matters is the position of this blue line, because this is a blue line. This blue line is the line the cutter will follow and make the cut on these lines here. So again, I'm going to save this. I'm going to go to so just to show you what the difference, what we did here. What we have here is this shape, and this is how it looked before. So it's up to you if you want to change those as well. So what I'm going to do now, again, go to File and go to Export. On this I'm going to say Part 2, making sure maximum editability is checked. back in AutoCAD, I'm going to go to Open. I'm going to bring that file in. Control A to select everything, Control C to copy everything, and then I'm going to go back to where my original file is. I'm going to say Control V. Sorry, I think it didn't copy what I required. Control A, Control C, Control C. Make sure that you see the copy clip command there. Go to the original file, Control V, and we have our design in there as well. If you think it's too small, feel free to scale it bigger. As I mentioned, all of this are now generic. Actually, I think that sorry about that. I'm not exactly sure why that was happening. So when I was clicking, when you copy that into your file, I'm not sure why, but it doesn't look the same. It looks distorted. However, when you cut it, which is basically, rather than pressing Control C, you press Control X. That will that seems to work. So if I was to bring that here and press Control V, that's working better now. Actually, it's still, yeah, sorry, just make sure that you see the options, the blue lines, to edit your item here. Once those are visible, then you can just select them. Once they're all blue, press Control X, and in your original file, which I believe mine is this one, and this one's not. This one doesn't look too good. So in the original file, once you press Control X to cut the other document, press Control V, and that should work just fine. I hope that the tutorial was good. I hope that it's useful for you, and good luck with the projects.